Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pointing directly to the paper trail to unravel a pretty massive bureaucratic mystery surrounding Japan's power grid. We're going to look closely at an extensive set of official written responses and public documents regarding a new cybersecurity mandate for solar and battery systems. And we're going to uncover exactly how a seemingly mundane technical requirement has quietly transformed into a massive, unyielding wall. Okay, so let's dive right into this by asking one totally critical question. How does a simple, supposedly optional cybersecurity label become an absolute requirement for grid interconnection? It's a fascinating structural shift, and the paper trail reveals exactly how it went down. First, let's just define our terms here. Officially, the JC Star Level 1 label is a voluntary, minimum security, self-declaration conformity label for IoT products in Japan. On the surface, it's just a basic security standard for smart devices, administered by the Information Technology Promotion Agency, or the IPA. But as the official government Q&A documents recently revealed, the reality on the ground is entirely different. The contrast here is just absolutely stark. Officially, this whole thing is pitched as a voluntary technical certification, but the documented reality? It actually functions as a substantive and fatal administrative disposition, meaning without the supposedly voluntary label, solar and battery operators face a total block preventing them from connecting to the grid. They literally cannot do business. Section 1. The security illusion. To really understand the illusion here, we just have to look at the IPA's own words. Get this, their official response actually says, the acquired conformity label does not mean safely installed and operated. That's right, the label completely ignores installation safety, assuming instead that the device is just directly exposed to the internet. So ironically, possessing the label doesn't actually guarantee a safe grid connection at all. And it gets even stranger when we look at how different power sources are treated. Wind power, for instance, relies on logical network security, standard things like boundary defense and firewalls. But solar and battery systems, they are forced into this blanket device-level label requirement, regardless of how secure their actual network setup is. Why the huge difference? Well, when the Agency for Natural Resources and Energy was asked in question 25 for the security rationale behind this incredibly strict solar mandate, their written admission was stunning. They simply stated that after consulting with industry, they confirmed that making the requirements mandatory is not impossible, and decided accordingly. They didn't say it was the best security measure, just that it wasn't impossible to enforce. And looking closely at these official responses, the enforcement realities are honestly kind of bizarre. The mandate applies even if a device physically doesn't have an Ethernet port. It applies even if communication functions are permanently disabled at the factory. On top of that, the model numbers on the label list might not even match the commercial products, and as we established, the safety of the actual installation is never verified. This proves it's all about possessing a label, not actually securing a network. Section 2. The secret political filter. So, the government's own supplementary guidance defines an exception route. This is an alternative path to getting a label that is officially designed to prevent business disadvantages by evaluating the existence of competing products. Really think about that for a second. We have a security exception based entirely on market competition and business disadvantage, not on cybersecurity risk. But the real smoking gun is hidden in a footnote of the conformity criteria, Section 1.3 to be exact. It reveals that before a label is issued, non-public inquiries regarding supply chain risk are made to government organizations. This operates as a secret supply chain risk inquiry, acting as a filter before a label is ever granted, completely hidden from public view. We are simply reporting the facts on the ground as documented by our sources here. This secret supply chain inquiry has reportedly resulted in the complete rejection of major Chinese manufacturers. They have received 0 labels, despite submitting identical self-declarations of conformity as everyone else. Now, we're not taking any political sides here whatsoever. We are just impartially explaining the structural reality of this process based directly on the source material. Which obviously leaves us asking a rather vital question. Why is a non-public political filter operating under the guise of an objective, neutral technical certification? If economic security is the true goal, why use a voluntary IoT label to silently enforce it? Section 3. Evading administrative law. Because this mandate is masked as a voluntary private label, it bypasses Japan's Administrative Procedure Act entirely. That essentially strips away standard legal protections. There are no published review criteria for grid connection rejections, no formal presentation of reasons for rejection, absolutely no established objection or relief procedures, and no comparative evaluation of alternative safety measures. When the agency was questioned directly about this total lack of legal predictability, their official response to question 17 was incredibly revealing. They said, "We discuss these matters as needed in conversations with industry associations and individual operators." That literally means these massive entry conditions to a national grid are handled via private backdoor conversations rather than formal administrative rules. And hey, if you were wondering if they even compared this label mandate to international standards, the government admitted on the record in question 14 that there are no comparative materials from the perspective of making JC Star Level 1 acquisition a requirement. Absolutely zero comparative documents exist justifying this mandate against alternative standard network defenses. Section 4. The system's legal collapse. Now let's circle back to that quote regarding the exceptions we talked about earlier. The authorities explicitly stated in question 27, "We do not plan to ensure third-party verifiability." This means that the grid review process officially confirms absolutely nothing about grid security. If exceptions are invisible and third parties can't verify them, the entire technical foundation just crumbles. Tracking this step by step, we see a system in total contradiction. Step 1. The label ignores actual installation safety. Step 2, exceptions are granted via invisible market criteria. Step 3, secret political filters are applied without oversight. And finally, Step 4, grid connection is denied with a total absence of legal remedy. It is a voluntary label with invisible exceptions blocking market entry. As an explainer grounded entirely in verified facts, we highly encourage you to read the receipts yourself. Don't just take our word for it. All the primary evidence, the government Q&A responses, and the official source documents we've explored today are fully accessible. Just click the website link in the description box below to see the official record with your own eyes. We're going to leave you to ponder this final provocative question. When a vital national grid mandate is built on secret rules, hidden filters, and zero legal remedies, who is truly in control of the power? It's a pretty fascinating look at the fragility and transparency of invisible regulatory gatekeepers. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.